Set up on the recording. Give me a moment. Yeah, just had a set record. It takes a couple of minutes now. It's a little bit late. You try and end about 24 minutes past 9. Anyway, we're sorted now. Morning, everybody. Yeah. So, yeah, just wait till 1:30. Give it another few seconds till it gets there, and then we can start. See what the FTSE's doing. I always think of Anna Marie and the FTSE. I hope she's not suffering too much at the moment. Probably about the same, mate. Doesn't seem to really getting going, huh? I still have hope for it, Anna Marie. Still have hope for it. The Nasdaq came off and the S&P came off, as mentioned yesterday, so that shouldn't take all day to follow, hopefully. We shall see. Okay, it's 1:30, yeah. Gold sent out. The daily might help. Yeah, don't forget, there are fundamentals coming out, interest rate with the US on Wednesday evening, and so just bear that in mind. But the overall is bullish on gold. So just bear that in mind. It was only sent to the VIP group. Anyone not in the VIP group can take part of it if they like. But it's just bear in mind, it could pull back a little bit further because, as I say, the short term, there's a little bit of dollar strength coming in, which, again, I did mention yesterday is a likelihood, and it seems to be playing out. Hence, that's why I expect the NASDAQ and the S&P to fall off, which, again, played out to a certain extent, which is good. So they could come off a little bit more, but I'm pretty sure 19 underline the sand, or even in the shorter term, maybe 1910, somewhere around about this level here. Yeah, we don't want to miss out on it. So it shoots up. Bullish is the name of the game. So that's why I've set it down now. Remember, your stop loss is down here at 1895, just below a couple of weeks ago. So if you want to wait and risk missing out, fair enough. But you could get a better price. But the name of the game is the upside. So if you want to take it on the MT5 mailbox, you should have the details all to you. Okay. Okay, so there it is. Right, go back to the NAS. Well, actually, no, we'll go to the US dollar yen. I've got a nice little WhatsApp from Mark this morning, nice showing all the blue colors. So it hasn't been too bad. It's a bit hovering a little bit at the moment. You see what I mean on the 1 hour? It's hovering a bit, but at least it's when it comes off, some buyers come in, so it's still doing okay. We just reprise or recap the early ones we had out. Euro CAD. That we got in at 145.47. Sorry, 145. It's now 145.47, and it still seems to be doing some good. I don't even got in at 145. It's 50 odd pips away. Might be worthwhile looking at protecting yourself by adjusting your stop. Okay, I presume you've already know enough to have already done that anyway. So it seems to be holding nicely on the 1 hour. On the that's 100-day time, not 100 days. Sorry. 100 moving average times 1 hour. That's the 100 1 hour moving average. Bit of a bloody mouthful there. It seems to be holding there. It's just come off like you had a bounce. So stick with it. get your stop up to entry, which will be around 105, 145 mark, protect yourself and see if we can ride some more out of that one. The other one we had out is 67.60 was Euro NZD. Again, that's 40 pips in profit. I hope some guys are still in it. It jumped around, came off a little bit yesterday. Some guys weren't caught out in a modified stop. You were in the loft, but it'd been disappointing if you were, but it still seemed to be trying to break up. So maybe if you want to move your stop, maybe just bring it into about maybe one, maybe entry level, something like that, 6.67, 60, or maybe even 65, something like that. I don't know, something like that. Keep a bit of a way, because it's really jumping around a bit, even on the 1 hour. But this is holding. Good news, that's holding on the 1 hour, and see if we can get some more out of that. But anyway, it's a nice blue one. So those three are blue. Okay, I know it's close at the moment, but the Tesla's starting to work out. Where are we? Tesla, I think G stock will work out. I think a trade idea will be sent out later on to everybody who's not in GS, around about 3-ish. Okay, just remember that. And about 3 o'clock, with a sell on GS, probably a better price than you've got. But anyway, hopefully it'll work out. And a Tesla will be sent out to enter around about the 170 mark. This is where you did have a bit of an advantage being in the trading room, because we got a trade out there yesterday afternoon at 174. So clearly that's $6 in profit. We've already got a Microsoft one out, I think it's on Friday, and that's all clearly already in profit. Let me just check the amounts again. Microsoft, 243.48. Sorry, 247. Rubbish here. 247. So that's nicely in profit as well. So it's looking pretty blue across the board. S&P, some got up 4040, some were originally a little bit earlier, a day or so before, 430. Whichever you got in, you at least slightly, not exactly fireworks, but slightly ahead of the game. So that's looking okay. And of course, the NAS we mentioned, not everyone could afford it, so they didn't take it, but those who did take it would have been pleased, because we got in around about, I didn't write it down, so I have to remember the figures. But I think you guys got in who did take it around about the 12,050-ish, maybe slightly better, with a 12.3 stop. And now it's come off nearly 300 pips. So anyone who took it will be smiling. I know a certain gentleman called Mr. Slab that did. Well done, sir. Smiling. I think you took the better alternative, actually, instead of getting out of there and modifying your stop and let it run a bit more. You can hack it, you can afford it, you know what's going on. So I agree with you on that decision. Okay, so might get some more downside there. We shall see. I think to play safe, anybody who did, don't touch it now if you didn't. But anyone who did, we didn't write down, wasn't enough. But if anyone sitting there did go for it and got in around about the 12,050 mark or higher, I think you can modify your stop to entry just to protect in case funny things happen. It's incredibly volatile stock. I had a guy come up and he was having battle to do the NASDAQ. He's got 250 rand to the account. He was a bit disappointed. I said, don't touch it. You've got nowhere near enough funds to cope with the volatility. So bear in mind, you could do it smaller amounts as long as you understand the volatility. Okay, so I don't mind anyone doing it as long as you understand what it's about. The guys go in because they read somewhere now that it's sexy, you can make a lot of money, or sort of Instagram from somebody doing all sorts of fun stuff with it. They want to be on board with that without really understanding the pros and cons, with obviously a small amount, something for nothing brigades I've talked about many times, and unfortunately get margin call and don't understand why. That's driving above the speed limit when you don't know what happened without a speedometer. It's not a good idea. Okay, all right. So got a couple of ones out. I think one's the PD, it's AUDCHF. I think which one? I think we've got one out on that. AUDCHF already. Where is it now? Yeah, we got one out on that already, Gerard. That was at 65.47. Clearly that's in a profit. That's 50 pips away. We've been hanging around there since the 27th. Oh, not so long. Remember, there's 2 days of that is the weekend. So it's 27th, 28th, about 3 or maybe 4 down there. Bottom line is it's it's okay. You can modify your stop to entry. You're thinking of going in again. Yeah, we did. So if you're in that, you can modify stock to the 47 entry. It's what's that? 50 pips away. So clearly that's okay, or 40 pips away, wherever. But it's enough distance to protect yourselves. That's another one. Thanks for reminding us that you're coming from there. That's just another one we had, and that's doing nice. Another blue trade, which is pretty nice. So yeah, protect yourself as per normal. Okay, that's fine. But don't chase it now. GBPNZD, some guys might have rejoined it after taking profit. I think that was a sell, if I remember rightly. It popped up quite a bit. Let's put the day, you might get a better idea. And yeah, I still say name. I'm not that fond of the pound. Problem is, you may or may not know, you've got your economic calendar. Thursday, Bank of England interest rate decision, probably the same as expected, but you still get a bit of movement. But that being as it may, I think it's another entry here possible. I don't. People are still in this one. Oh, I see what you mean. I get your point now. I see what you mean now. Thanks. You helped me along there as a reminder. I get your point completely now. Okay. Yeah. I've seen 37 pips. I think it to yeah, maybe up there somewhere. Maybe about 90 pips, and it hasn't been there since when? All right, it must have been a couple of weeks ago. But I don't know if anyone wants to do it. We had one out. I think some guys modified stock, took a bit of profit. Do you want another go at this, or if I'm comfortable? You put a tighter stop if you want. It seems to be holding on the 50. Anyone want to still in hold it? If you want to, anyone want to do this one? If you're in, hold it. I presume you're not stopped out. I'm talking about guys who are already out, take profit, we'll have another bash. Fair enough. Okay, Leotili, we'll put up. And if a couple people like it, we'll do it again. Okay, we'll put it down. I mean, all right, to sure. Right, I don't know if we want a tighter stop or a wider. Let's have a look what we can do for TP first. We take it down here, plenty of downsides. So maybe take it there. 1.8962. Make it 1.8965. Right, now, where do you want the TP either up here or a bit lower down there? What do you want, tighter stop or a slightly wider? If we put a wider stop out the way there, you'll get a risk reward of 211. A tighter stop, we can even put the TP up a bit. Make it wide. I tend to agree with that. The TP can leave in your hands. Your money, your decision. And more to the point, I'm trying to get it across that, you know, we're all over 21. We all got the vote. We need to make our own decisions, I can suggest. Okay, so slightly wider stop. That's it. In fact, even slightly wider still. Get it round to the round 9. Call it good, damn it. Make straight 100 random micro. Makes your calculations easy then, eh? So it's 500, 5 micro, you know. Don't know that, should be in the market. People can't work that out. I suggest they don't try and do this derivatives market because it's a bit more complicated than working out a volume. It would be nasty. I had a guy come in yesterday and rapped out that Media wanted someone to help him out to have a place to signal because he had one in there. And then he said afterwards, I'm only getting one signal. Why can't I get 5 signals as promised? All I could do not to say was, you can't place one. Now, if you have 5, you won't be able to place 5. So we'll send you 20 if you like. You can't place it's irrelevant anyway. I thought he might miss the point, so I didn't. Okay, anyone like this one? Okay, Pete Schiffer likes it, Anthony Carroll likes it. Down it goes. No, I wrote the bloody thing down in the right place. 1.1937 square. $1.9226. 1.8965. see if they like this. So we like it, okay? So I'm just going to send that on to the company to see if they agree with you. Don't forget, we all talk about certificates, qualifications. That's just a legal thing. It doesn't say we can't trade. It's still not a trade, but it has to go through me because I've got a piece of paper to back it up for legal purposes. Just remember that. Can you find the damn thing? Give me a second. How much you're risking on this trade? It's $100. It tells you $100 a micro. Tells you there. That's the whole point of position size calculator. It tells you on the there. It says 100 rand per micro. Does everyone not understand that? This is that. If you don't understand that, I've got to explain that. It's absolutely beyond vital. You've got to know what the volumes are, otherwise you're driving in the dark. It's 100 rand per 0.0 micro. So you've got to know what I've got in my account, what am I willing to risk, and divide 100 into that. So you want to risk 300, there's 3 micros. You got it now. That is absolutely vital. If you can't work out the volumes, you won't be able to trade. It is more than important. It is without doubt the biggest reason why people screw up in this business. Not lack of knowledge, not lack of going to class, not like anything. They're just not getting disciplined, consistent volumes correct. And it's not just here, it's worldwide. Without doubt, it is the biggest problem people have, especially retail, not the pros, obviously, the retail traders who are starting off their journey. Without doubt, it's the biggest. Even more experienced ones, not getting it correct, the volumes, overexposing. You don't want guys, let's say 10 grand in an account, down 1,500, 2 grand in one instrument without a stop loss, or even going in with a stop loss, with risking a 2,000 rand on this. Grossly overexposed. You've got to remember it's a high risk, so that's fair enough. High return, but the returns will come if you look after the risk. If you look at the returns and ignore the risk, it normally ends up in a car crash. Very important, Atili. Don't forget, if you're doing shares, a couple will be sent out, TESS and GS later on. The risk and everything will be sent out, but it's a different calculator, don't forget. Don't try and put CFDs on this one, ain't gonna work. Okay. This is why you, like Leotil's done, you've got to interact. Talk about earlier on, we ask people, what don't you know? Ask questions, they don't interact, and they come out and then they say this went wrong because they didn't ask the question, or they'll look at it afterwards. Well, there's no time better look at it now when you've got the Zoom on. Why wait through a book when you got it, when the question and answers on here? It's a lot easier. This is, tell you in a nutshell, this is about you trying to take the human, not you, human being, trying to take control of their financial future, finances, etc. It's understanding money because it rules our lives, but it's staggering worldwide. We're talking worldwide. Only about, I don't know, maybe 20–25% of people on the planet actually understand the mechanisms of money, yet all of them, it guides their lives. And so if nothing else, at least you understand the mechanism of how money works. You know, it guides your life, you know. Might as well learn a bit about it. Anyway, okay, so yeah, so that one there. The other one I looked at was the GBPAUD. I've mentioned this more in the strategy room, and some of them said maybe we should wait a bit of confirmation. Davey, yeah, I'll just crunch a little bit. Is that going to hold? That's the question. Or is it going to move through it? It's trying to get hold. There's a few guys there, as you can see on the 4 hour. So sellers coming in, try the 1 hour. Few sellers come in, doesn't really tell you much on there. The 4 hour, you see what I mean? It seems to be holding below all three. And on the daily, it seems to be attracting a few sellers to hold it. Do you think you should wait a bit? Do you think it's being preemptive? Or do you think it's a possibility of a short now? Number one. Number two, if you're going to take the AUD against the GBP, tell you right now, the AUD economy is in better shape than the UK. That's a fact. Also, unfortunately, the fact is interest rate decision on Thursday with the GBP. I expect it to be exactly as expected, which is 0.5%. However, even with the coming out as expected, you often get a bit of volatility, but that's 2 days away. But putting that so you're aware of the information, do you think there's a possibility of a short here? I'm looking at a short period.
Roger, good morning. Permission to speak. I see the AUD retail sales was not that good, announced at 2:30 this morning. I suggest we wait for confirmation.
Okay, fair comment. Any other comments? Got to do the levels of GBP and ZD. So just sorry about this. Don't know why they can't do it themselves. Pulls the bloody TR up and they're going to do it. Just give me a second. GBP and ZD. Let's get the figures again. One way around. 1.9226. Are we all right here? Is that right? No. 1.9. Yes, it was. Yeah, sorry. 1.89. 1.8965. It's how long I've got to do it. It's a request before they send it out. So, bit of a pain. They've done it. Thank you. Thank you. They've done it. But that's they're sitting there. I'm training to do it. Okay, knock that off. Okay, go back to where we were before. We're on that AUD here. GBP, sorry. Things clattering in my head just put me off. There we are. GBP AUD. There we go. Right, let these guys in. Nice one. Good. Just need to post that banner. I don't post anymore on my private group. I send updates and banners, but I'll tell you why again, just so you all know. And you remember on just a second. Sorry, guys. Go with that. Okay, sorry about that. I had to do that. Okay, so sorry, I had to do that for the office there. What were you saying, finally, anything? Oh yeah, retail. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So GBP AUD, you want to sit tight on that one. You're not too keen. Is that correct? Any comments? Anyone keen on it? Or I'm still pro it despite that. Yeah, I hear your point entirely. Does anybody still think they'd like to sell this one? You want to wait on this, so we leave it then. Okay, no comments. As I say, it's very important you do comment. It's a forum. Said it many, many times. I cannot help you if you can't help yourself, which means if you don't know something and you don't ask, you might not get the answer, basically. It seems a perennial problem with all the presenters. People attending, they're not interacting, coming out without understanding. Yeah, it's not going to be downloaded. You've got to interact. The guys who do tend to do okay. So you're going to wait on it. Okay, you seem to be 4 or 5 who interact, and the new ones who need it the most don't, and that's usually where the problems come in. And those are the ones usually least afford it. You need to interact. If you're not sure, I can help. Try anyway. Can't guarantee it, but do my best. Okay. Let's have a look. It's just got the Trader Gold just going out. Let's just revisit it quickly. I thought where we got it out at, I think it was about 14. So it's about even Stevens now at the moment. So maybe it'll work out all right. Good stuff. The NAS, is it still coming off? A little bit of a bounce there. I just want to mention, I'm not sure I should be, but I think I will anyway for the trade room guys alone. I'm having a non-farm session on Friday afternoon. It's going to be sent out only if the guys have got 2.5 grand or more in their account, so they can make use of the strategy we'll be talking about. Now, we're not setting in stone 2.5, we'll only be sent out to those guys, but I can mention here because some guys might have more or less. The point behind that, we don't want to, because you can only take up so many numbers in there with guys who've got no understanding, no money, etc., on demo accounts, interacting and holding up the guys who want to basically trade. So you can probably understand what I'm trying to say by that. But those guys who might have a smidgen below that, who attend regular trading room, understand the principles behind it, who want to attend. It'll be a Zoom session on, I think on this particular one here on Friday at 3 o'clock, but not if you've got 200 or 300 rand or 5 rand on a demo, or you don't understand or something like that. No, because it's not going to work. To put it, you know. Those who maybe scratch less but understand what's involved and understand the basics of it, of course, they can be welcome to join. So I'm just putting it out there so you understand. I'm also going to put my details on here. So those people who need WhatsApp of the trade support, remember, I don't do mentoring. I don't do mentoring on a one-to-one basis. I have the trading room, and I can respond to a WhatsApp query as long as you're on point. I can do that. But remember, I'm the only one qualified to do that. So there's quite a large amount of clients. So it'd be impossible time of the day to do one-to-one on everybody. So that's the only way around it. But I will put my contact details up on WhatsApp. Please speak to WhatsApp, and I can assist. Okay. If we haven't been in contact before, please tell me who you are. It's time consuming to say, hi, who are you? And they put back George, and I say, George who? You know, it's time consuming. Just say, this is so-and-so, this is my full name, real account number, and that's great. And then we can work together. Bearing in mind, 500 Rand is the minimum you can trade with. So if you've got less than that, I can't offer any value. There's no point. Preferably 2.5, and then you'll get more signals. So 500 to 2.5, you will get the odd signal, but because of limitations in capital, you won't get as many because you won't be able to place them. Over 2.5, preferably more, you'll get more signals, and therefore, because you have the balance to place them. Okay. Now, the other aspect is if you can't place a trade, go to platform trading. Don't say, I've got this trade, help me place it. No, I won't. It's not my job to teach you platform trading. That is your job to go to the classes and learn. So you need to know how to operate the platform, be to some understanding of what's going on, and an account above 500, place a signal. And for goodness sake, get your volumes right. Even if you've got a highly leveraged account, don't go into big or you could get margin. Hope that is all clear. If not, go and interact at classes. You cannot drive a car if you don't know the basics, which is dangerous, at least for you, financial basis. Okay. I think most of you've got it, but if you haven't, there it is. To say there are certain parameters and help me to help you. That's the bottom line. Don't try and expect me to drag everything out of you. Help me to help you. The more we can speed the process up, the more I can get to the point to assist. Okay, we're not trying to catch you, and we all got our price, but mine's a few $1 million. It ain't 50 bucks. So I'm not trying to catch you, but I need you to help me. You know what I'm saying? Help me to help you, and we can make a go of it. Good stuff. I just want to put on, as I normally do, just in case you don't have it, it's important. I'll try and make a habit of doing it every time. Is the just a second, is the dollar index and the economic one. Just a second, just so you've all got it. Doesn't take long. And the economic one. Don't always put the yields on. Don't say anyone see they've got the crack of what the yields are about. So I'll stick those videos to understand. Okay. All right. Yeah, you'll find it's a perennial problem which we're all aware of is the Eskom load shedding. The cost of a quality inverter is north of 10K. A lot of guys just don't have that. Even though they're on a reasonable salary, they just don't have that disposable income because all the money goes out, as we all know, at the end of the month on debit orders or whatever. So it is a problem. Unfortunately, it's not just the trading battle. The major problem is you're trying to place trades or modify stop loss or exit or whatever. It's so make sure you've got it handy on your phone as well as your laptop, and then you've got access to mobile data. So if you do lose it on the load shedding, then you just go to your phone, load some data, and then you can exit or add or do something to your on your MetaTrader 5. Because there's no good saying I'm buying ABC and then can't get in, or you want to exit, it looks like it's coming off, and you can't because the internet's gone. So don't forget, make sure you go on your phone, and therefore, and then you just load some data, and then you can exit, exit or enter as you please. Okay, just you need to have that if you have problems in an area, especially sometimes you get unstable Wi-Fi. Bit of a backup there. If you live in an area you can't get Wi-Fi, data anywhere whatsoever, or it's completely unstable, you're going to have to find some other forms of employment, I think, because this is dependent on you having internet access. Just bear that in mind. Okay. Okay, just looking at our friend Ngas, it's hovering around doing squat as normal. Okay, right. We covered a few things. We've got a couple of trades out. Yeah, Any questions? Anything you'd like to discuss? Any other areas on clarification on the marks themselves? What's coming up? Fundamentals, worldwide aspects, any technicals or anything like that? Can discuss, get an overall understanding of the picture and what's involved. Because you have a definite advantage coming in here because you're making the effort to come in here. That's why I try to add value here. Believe me, I'm not being harsh when I say stuff, but it's got to be understood that certain parameters, if not achieved, will cause problems. Yeah. Thank you, Leotili. Good stuff. Because we do have a large amount of clients, unfortunately, trying to trade without the understanding of it, and it's not skin off my nose. I'm more worried about them because, you know, it's like a millionaire. Elon Musk loses $50, it doesn't matter. But when you're in a budget and you lose it simply because you don't know what's going on, it's a pity. It's not nice. So try and increase the confidence levels by interacting here. And remember, some new guys as well. Don't be put off with the Bradys and the Eugenes and the Anna Maries and the Leotilis and the Farneys and the Gerards. They've been doing a little bit longer. You know, they all started. They're on your side. We'll help when we can. But don't come up and say, I put $1,000 in my account. Can I make $1,000 a month? That means you need to go and get math lessons. Yeah. That's another point still on that, maybe it triggers out. You know, don't get your stop loss when modifying is too tight. It's got to go in where, when you go in, you should say, I can afford to lose on that trade. That should be the first thing. Have to have discipline. Absolute must, yeah. And excitement helps, I agree with that. But you've got to go and say, can I afford to lose that amount? If you can, then you're going more clear-headed. You know what I'm saying? So otherwise, you're going to modify your stop too close, you exit too quickly, you don't give the trade a chance, you hold on to your losses because you're too scared to take your loss in case it bounces up. You're scared that the profit will run away, so you grab it too quickly. And all those things, those are irrational fear, emotion zones, because normally, because you either don't understand or you've gone in too big. But if you go and say, right, I can afford to lose X rand on that trade, then the clarity of your mind is much easier. As simple as that. And don't go into a trade thinking how much you're going to make. If you're going to trade, number one, the safety aspect. What can I afford to lose? Or what can I afford to risk? You don't drive to Cape Town from Joburg because your mind's on Cape Town. You make sure the wheels are correct, your oil and petrol and the engine's running or whatever. Look after the downside, the risk. If you can't, if you've got $1,000 in your account, you're risking 400, it's overexposed. You're not thinking correctly. So make sure when you go in, it's not what I can afford to make, it's what I can afford to lose. You can handle that part, the upside look after itself. And do not make ridiculous expectations. Work on percentages. Very, very important. Guy says, I've been 2.5 grand in, can I make 500, can I make 2.5 grand a week or something? Clearly that person hasn't got the basic understanding of direct percentages. I mean, does anybody think you can make a 2.5 grand a month, never mind a week, on a 2.5 grand balance? Does anybody think you're going to do that? On a, not once off, I mean, you win the lottery once off, on a consistent basis. Anybody sitting here think I've got 2.5 grand in my account, I should be able to make 2.5 grand a month? Anybody think they're going to be able to do that? That's exactly what I'm saying actually here. I just want to know, does anybody think that? Does anybody honestly put their hand up and say, I've got 2.5 grand in my account and I'm hoping to make 2.5 grand a month for me? Anybody think that's going to be, it's going to be a likely a consistent achievement? No, I don't doubt they do on YouTube. Well, if you see, some say on that YouTube because they're chasing likes, not looking after you, they're looking for likes, through advertising revenue. But I mean, I can tell you, Anthony, if you take this pill, you're played better than Novak Djokovic, but you're over 18, you know? Well, I'm telling you right now, I don't believe that. We'd be a millionaire in like 20 days, but certainly a fairly short period of time. Yeah, it's clearly that's ridiculous. And even the top pros won't even put that. In case you get a bit of a jump when you start the garage and it suddenly takes off, but it's never sustained over a period of time. No, it's impossible. One has to look at percentages, and 100% a month is 1,200% a year. Just Google it and see, is there any investor out there can offer consistently 1,200% a year? No, just understand a few things, because these ridiculous expectations it's clearly not going to be fulfilled and disappointed as a result. If you're setting goals, sell realistic ones, or you're going to be doomed to disappointment. Okay. Over here, it's not so bad. If you try and do that overseas, they might tease you. Not pleasantly either, if you say that. So just be careful. Hope we are clear on that. Good stuff. Okay, right. And GBP NZD, we looked at that to recap there in the Atili, mentioned that. Price we got in on this one was 37. It's about even Stevens popping around. Fair enough. Just popping around. There's not much happens. It's pretty quiet this morning, you notice. The Nasdaq's just pretty quiet. Gold has come off a little bit. Yeah, it's a bit quiet. It's a bit sideways at the moment. So I've got all the sort of trade ideas out there. The only one I did quite like, you guys weren't that keen on, was this one. And I can't say I blame you, because it could be a little bit of move back up again. But I still think that's got a bit of downside, but I don't want to force it. We'll see what happens. We don't want to overtrade just for the sake of it. I want to look for good setups. This one is giving me serious jip. I cannot understand why that hasn't taken off. Japanese exports have gone up a little bit, which is what they want. Remember, they can't really increase interest rate. The debt's too big, so they've got to export their way out of trouble. And the only way to do that is at competitive prices, which means a better exchange rate for their exports. So I still think that is a possibility of upside. I'm afraid, Liatili, that is an issue. I hate it when that happens. You want some movement, but you don't want it dependent on unknown fundamentals, which are impossible to guess. I mean, not just, we might guess the interest rate, and might be correct, but the reaction to it, we can't guess. That's the issue. Okay, fantastic, Brady. As always, nice to have you here. But absolutely. So there will be a bit of jumping around. Some guys might get fantastically lucky. We had one the other day, horrendously overexposed. Fundamentally came right. I think Christmas came early or whatever. I think he won the lottery. But what do you think? I still think there's upside on this one. Let's come back to support. Maybe a stop down here. Should be maybe want a bit of a confirmed bounce. TP up there. We get a risk reward. What's a 15-minute doing? Any buyers coming in? I think you might see a bit of support jump here. Still in and hold it then. Anyone not in this one? If you're not in this one, I see a good potential upside on it.
Roger,
yeah.
Sorry, I see with the retail sales that was much higher than expected, the yen strengthened overall against all the currencies today.
It had a little bit. It had a little bit, yeah, but I'm not sure it's going to be a big say-so whether that's going to be continued or not. Remember, to sustain those higher, well, not so retail, I'm talking more about the export area, they have to have a weaker yen to be competitive. And that is what I think the policy going forward is, rather have a weaker than the yen. Retail sales might have that because the buyers and sellers on the yen worldwide might see that as a slight strengthening, but it's not in the Japanese economy's favor. And they had Japanese intervention before, and I'm not saying go and have it again. So if they want to export themselves out of trouble, they've got to have a weaker yen. And so if you don't like it, fair enough, but I see there's a possibility of some upside on this. I wouldn't try and take out any higher than the previous highs here, the range, but I think it's a possibility of some upside on this one. If you're not in, Anna Marie's in, Antoni's in, so don't try and go in again. Some people do that. They get a trade idea. After already in, and they go and double up. Now they're 100% overexposed, you know. But if you're not in Anne-Marie, I actually think this is not a bad trade, my opinion. Just a second, do that in a moment. Just trying to find something here. Gosh, it's this afternoon. I haven't got it down. Maybe I haven't filtered it properly. Maybe it's a 2-star. I haven't got it down the German CPI for this afternoon. Oh, hang on. Hang on, whatever I got there. Just a second. Got such cluttered up here. German CPI today at 3 o'clock. Beg your pardon.
Yes, it is a 2-star.
3 o'clock, yeah. So I've got chat lines and admits and all that cluttering up. I didn't see it yet on my other screen. Yeah, 3 o'clock. Okay. I'm not keen on that one. You discuss your like what will happen. I don't know. But I'm not. To me, it's not volatile enough to do a straddle trade on it on the German 30. Quick, discuss your life, but I don't encourage you to do a straddle trade like this. It's US CPI and the non-farms. Okay, so if you like, I'll put it up and see what you think. Doesn't have to be too wide. Don't want it too tight either. Maybe a little bit wide. There we are. Take it up here. 141 might tell you. Just a little bit tight if you like. Okay, where's that? The stop loss, make it 75. Ignore the points, irrelevant. So it's sort of 75 or 90. The 1.7, around about $100 a micro. It's up to you, Carl, but I don't encourage anyone there to try and do a straddle trade, you know, buy stop, sell stop trade on the German CPI. I'm not sure you're going to evolve it to make it worth the risk involved. It's already moving a little bit as we speak. It's again 100 rand a micro now. So yeah. So a few bars are coming on that support area. Anybody like it who are not in already? Finally likes it. Anybody else going to join in? Okay, good enough. Down it goes. A moment. So it's about $6 100 rand a micro. Ah, good. A few people like this. Good stuff. Right. Just go back on the clarity part. and when it comes when it comes to position sizing, obviously you've got to know the amount you want to risk, whether it be 200, 5 grand, or 1,000, or 1,500, or 800, or whatever. Does everybody know how to sort of work out what they're prepared to risk? All right, it's your money. It's up to you what you want to risk. But sort of just get an idea of the sort of parameters, what you should be risking at the amount according to your balance. Does anybody want some sort of feedback on that? Because I can certainly give you some figures if you like it. Well, as you think about that, answer that question, replying to that question, let's look at AUD USD. going to save it quickly. We've all got to trade out on that, I think, so I'm not going to post it. It's just the TR guys are not in. It is short. I'm a little bit worried about joining it now. I see a slightly stronger dollar, so I see your point. I've mentioned that this morning as well in the strategy room. I do see some downside, but something maybe you should have joined yesterday if you want to take very big risks. 10B ticket on the euro dollar. I think it's working out okay for him. But to join it now, I think rather just be a little bit careful because of tomorrow coming up. But I do overall see some downside. I see the Fed taking a hawkish stance. I do see some dollar strength coming in. Gerard, you know a little bit more. You know what the risk involved. If you want to do it on your own basis, okay, where can you put the stop? TP 69.0, put 69 round figure there. Right, but yeah, 69.06, yeah. Yeah, that's a TP, that's fine, yeah. No problem with that. No, it's not too far, that's fine. There's a few, remember, extraneous fundamental facts in period. Yeah, so if you want to, I'm still pro downside, but that's for the reason I gave. That's for a more experienced trader. I wouldn't be too keen and promote to a newer guys who don't understand the full parameters of the fundamental effects of hawkish from the Fed or lack of it and the dovishness, etc. They're not sure what the hell I'm talking about, rather just stay here. It might be rich for the blood and all that. Okay, repeating that is good idea. You're talking about percentage of the amounts you got, or is that what you mean? Because I'm going to discuss that because it's all real say I can work out my volumes. Okay, great. It's all very well say I've got X amount in my account and you've got to work out from this 100 rand or micro or whatever. I can do all that. But what am I prepared to risk on my balance? Now, as I said, most people will understand this. The international norm is 2% of your balance you risk on the trade. Some people go 1 to 2%. That's sometimes might even push it up to 3. Say, but however, that's fine if you've got Tom in your account. But unfortunately, we don't have it in the situation. Not so as they're not broke or whatever, just because when they have even a reasonable income, so many outgoings, they don't always have a lot of capital to spare. So you can't do those 2% on small amounts. So what do you call a small amount? Personally, have to say it, not like one might say, I think for trading a small amount, anything below about 20 grand really. So we go down to about 10 grand. I'm suggesting you go in the region of about 5%, something like that, which would be about 500 bucks. On 5 grand, I think about 300, maybe a scratch over about, not exactly. We're talking about 6%. It's like the smaller figure, the more you have to risk a percentage because you don't have the funds basically. Now you go down to something like 2 grand. I would say about 2.5 grand or below, you've got to start going on the 10%, okay, which is a lot. If you've got as little as 500 grand, 10%, you've got to go to 20%, because you on 5 grand, outside 5 grand, 10% is 50 rand. You won't be able to trade on 50 rand. 50 rand risk, the stop loss, everything's going to be too far away. You will not be able to trade on 500 rand if you work with a 10% principle. So you've got to work on 20%, which is horrendous, but it's 20% of, I have to say, very, very little amount of money. Put in perspective, if you go out for a meal for 2, ignoring drinks, just a tip for a meal for 2 in a restaurant, normally is about 500 rand. If you want drinks on top, it goes, you get the idea, put in perspective. Below 500 rand, in my opinion, you're wasting your time, to be horribly honest with you. Completely, utterly wasting your time. You can't really trade anything. So if you got 5 to 100 to 1,000, you should go in 1. Never mind what your leverage is. You should go into 1, 0.01, and that's it. If you get 3 trade ideas, pick one. Hope it's the right one. Otherwise, you'll be overexposed. So I would say you can look at the region of about 1,000 below, maybe 1,000 rand, maybe 15%, 500, 20%. Below that, well, throw the dice and take your chances. Because it's, anyway, whatever. Okay, so that's the sort of basis you'll be looking at. So I'll give that again, about 20% on 500, about 15% 1,000, 2 grand to about, let's say, 3 grand, about 10%, 3 to 5, about 7, 8, 5, about 6%, 10,000, 5%, 20 grand or above, you can go to 3, 4, 50 and above, 2 to 3, 100 or above, right about the 2% mark, grand that is, something like that. You see, the bigger the amount you reduce your risk size. You sound a bit crazy. You got old Joe there, he's got 100 grand, he's got some money coming, he puts $1 million in there. He's worked on 2%, 2% a million, 50 grand. Even though he's got $1 million there, he might balk at risking 50 grand. He might be a bit nervous. You get the point. So work on those kind of percentages. Okay, Dirk, not a problem. Of course, if you have other stuff to do, you have to go. I went up fairly quickly. I can repeat it because I think it's essential. We haven't got any more trades at the moment. We can, anyone suggests one, we'll look at it immediately. But this is so essential. And honestly, I mentioned that to Gerard a couple of times. It worries me about the standard of maths that have been taught in this country when you compare to the rest of the world. It's virtually on the point of being non-existent on the basic arithmetic area. I'm not trying to be clever about calculus or pure maths down that may or may not be of much use to you unless you're going to engineering, but just for survival out there, not understanding basic percentages and things like that means you're going to battle in anything where you can get caught by loan sharks. So it's got to be an understanding on those bases. Because you can say, guys, they're putting 5 grand, I want to make $1 grand a month, on 100 grand a day on 5 grand. Well, 100 grand a day on 20 days a month, trading days, that's 2 grand a month. That's 40% a month. That's just under 550, yeah, just under 500% a year. No investment will sustain that kind of growth. Otherwise, you'll be trillionaires before you know what's happening, or billionaires anyway. So, yeah, you must understand these percentages, understand the principle. If I put nothing in, I'm going to get nothing out. That's just knowledge and effort and money, etc. So that will do you far more understanding. And then you've got to say, right, I'll bear by that rule and put $1 grand in. But the problem with that is, on that basis, those risks, because of the small amount, you're having a higher exposure and higher risk. So, you know, clearly it could knock you. And let's say you do have a reasonable run. The amount of money you can make in a bounce that small, it's going to be so tiny compared to the amount of work you put in. Well, sure, bloody hell. Is it worth it? So you've got to thinking, I'm starting off small to get the idea, get my competence levels up before I can start adding balance. No problem with that. But to buy an old jalopy for 5 grand, expect to compete with a Mercedes. Who are we trying to kid here? This is what I'm trying to get people to somehow get this concept, which seems to be beyond, worries me. Yeah, finger prop. We call it fat finger in the trade. When a guy puts in 10 when they're meant to put in 1, press the wrong button. I call it fat finger in the trade. Nothing to do with the size of your finger, people. It's just called the fat finger in the trade. So yeah, those are principles. So now you've got some idea of the ratio, your balance, what you prepare and should risk. It's up to you. It's your money. I'm just giving you an overall parameter of it. Then you can sort of work out from the position size calculator the amount you should be risking, and then a bit of discipline. Oh, the spelling, okay. Yeah, it's another thing you shouldn't be learning. This is not an investment. I want to clarify. This is speculation. Leverage instruments of speculation. Overseas, you've got to take a little questionnaire to make sure you understand that. I'm pretty sure here a lot of guys do not know what you can talk about when say leverage and going for it. But the point is, you shouldn't be borrowing money to go into leverage instruments. This is, you go into this money you can afford to lose. Anybody who goes to a high risk area like that, clearly want to make a buck, that's obvious. But you need to know that you shouldn't be borrowing hard-earned money on it. It's money you can afford to lose. If you can't afford to lose it, you can even less borrow money on it, because then you're going to be paying interest on the borrowed amount and you're piling up your own debt. That's usually desperation, expecting some miracle to get it out of your financial dwang, shall we say. And there's no quick way out of the financial dwang, otherwise wouldn't be unemployed, wouldn't be any financial problems in the world. That's more desperation than reality, so just bear that in mind. But Anthony, don't suddenly borrow 20 and put it in. Not a good idea, unless you've got 100,000 fixed deposits and it's only coming through in a month's time. You want to start trading now, then you can borrow 20 grand against that till it's released. That's a different ball game. But it's increasing your debt to try something that in a high risk area like this, not to be encouraged, shall we say. Okay. I think it's important to discuss that because the amount of BS you're getting on YouTube and heads have been filled with, it's doing the paupers, making them more pauperish. It's not a good idea. That's also true. Well, the other one is another one I quite like. You've probably heard it before many times. The quickest and easiest way to make a small fortune is to go to a casino and gamble with a large fortune. Yeah, I thought 1900 might pull back too, but we got the stock below that, so it's going to jump around a bit. Yeah. People are exactly, Lorenzo. They're being sold impractical dreams. And nothing wrong with dreams, we all dream, but you've got to have practical reality. I mean, Novak Djokovic, a bit of a hero of mine, dreamed about getting a Grand Slam, but he puts the discipline, the work, the right dad into it. It's the dream with no backup or substance. You know what I mean? I'm still dreaming Elizabeth Hurley is going to give me a call. That's a dream. It's not based in much likely of reality. But very much so. And none of those guys are doing themselves. They're just there getting paid to make those comments. There's nothing wrong with a dream, but it's got to be based on some practical reality. I go to a plastic surgeon. That's a dream, to come out looking like, I don't know, Mr. Film Star. But the reality is, I'll pay a lot of money and look as like as I am already. You know, this should. I go to the hairdresser, make me look like George Clooney or whatever the brain star is at the moment. Well, that's just a dream. You know? Let's be realistic. And you're quite right, Lorenzo. In fact, the media all over are highly responsible. They're playing those dreams for people out there. They're playing those emotions and then screaming. And they go down and protest and beat people up. They shouldn't be doing that. But you play them to do it by pushing those dreams out. And yeah, these social medias are highly responsible in what they're putting out there. Mainstream media, in a nutshell, are extremely irresponsible in what they're doing. A lot of the problems in the world are created by that irresponsibility from the media. Yeah, and it's usually the less educated people, less can afford to lose. The more desperate, the less worldly, the less. You know what I mean? It's those guys that get caught up in that snare. The more sophisticated will just laugh at it, you know. But that's the problem. So it's a pity because it's, well, yeah. Nothing wrong with hope and dreams, but just be practical. It's possible in the lottery, but the odds are against you. Okay, any questions on position sizing and percentage of balance which you should be doing? And I've mentioned my number there. If say anyone's got 2.5 grand or more, I can put them on my VIP thing. You'll get morning updates, and then you will be posting extra signals only when they come about. One guy said I'd promise 5 a day. Well, I'd give you 10 a day if it turns you on. But will they be any good? You're getting a bit of common sense. I mean, if it's there, it's there. If it's not there, it's not there. I hope there's some sort of integrity, certainly on my part there is, not to send it out for the sake of it. Some of the high risks we discuss in here, but you made aware of the high risks involved. Like the AUD one. Somebody said, yeah, sorry, GBP AUD one. Didn't quite like it, but you're aware of the ups and downs. You can make it, because you're informed in here to make your decision. Too many people are doing it with them, trying to play a game with they're uninformed, and that's usually going to come back and bite. And it's quite staggering how many people are actually doing that. Not here, I mean worldwide here. And remember, you are competing with the people with more money overseas as well. Somebody else is quite a shock. It shocked me anyway. I was very upset when I see people making $1,000. Yeah, they probably are making $1,000, but look at the amount of capital. I mean, what should we call it? What's his name? Elon Musk, you know, on opening the markets might win or lose in the first few minutes, $1 billion. But he's got a few hundred million to play with, you know what I mean? So you can make a few $1,000s, but then you suddenly find the guy's got about 20 million in the account. But that's sort of bit of information they don't always put in, you know what I mean? And they did it. Oh, and another is like the casino. I just won 10,000 casino last night. Yeah, but I didn't. But hang on, have you won 10,000 every night? Is that the norm? That consistent? That's another one. You won't make thousands, hundreds, anything on QT. QT is just a broker for the platform. Whether you make money or not depends on yourself. There's a bit of luck involved and the strategy you take. I don't know anyone making that. Anyway, well, to be honest, when it comes to money, I have to say, you just feel a little bit wary of what people say. You don't see people on Facebook had a lousy holiday. I hate my wife, and I'm not making any money. You know what I mean? They always put out the good times, just bear that in mind. But the problem is behind that is people are buying something for nothing. That guy's making 20,000 rand a day. Yeah, but that guy's got a large amount of money. He's been doing it for 10 years. He's a PhD in the subject. He's very experienced. He knows what he's doing. He's highly disciplined. And he's top of the range. You can make $1 million. You can make 100 million rand dollars, in fact, dollars in tennis. But there's only 2 or 3 people who've done that. You get my point. You can be a neurosurgeon if you like, but get the point. Be realistic on what you've got, what your capabilities are, and what the effort you're prepared to put in to attain that goal. Boring, I know, but it's the way it is. That's the trouble, eh? Boring. Yeah, it looks like it's going to come to 900. I think it's going to hold there. So if you didn't take the trade, hold on if you have. You didn't take the trade, it comes on a bit more, you can take it. Right, I'm comfortable 1900 hold. That's why the stop is below that. So it should get a bounce anyway. Any other new trades? Should have a quick look at the other one. Probably a bit sideways. What have we got out there? US dollar yen, anything happening there? It's bouncing up still, so it's still doing okay. Did the CHF JPY we took? Is anything happening on that one? Bit quick to go to look at. It's starting to come right. Good stuff. So anyone took it, a few pips in profit. Let's go back on the others. The EUR CAD. It's about the same. It's in profit. It's about the same. EURNZD. Come off a bit, but it's still jumping around, isn't it? Look at that. Jumping around 50 pips today already. Anyway, it's still in profit. Gold, the Nasdaq's probably popping up a little bit at the moment, a little bit. No, it's come off again. Yeah, good. That's good news. So that's coming off a bit. S&P should have come up a little bit as well. That's popping around, but still slightly profit. So yeah, not too bad. Bounce around. It's a little bit quiet at the moment, but yeah. GBPNZD we looked at. Is that anything happening there? A little bit of profit. Not shouting the light, shooting the lights out. We've got 37. That's not bad. About 15 in profit, something like that. Don't move stops yet, but it's okay. Yeah. Hey, Lorenzo, someone offers me something for nothing, my radar goes off. That's right. They'll be posted later on, the GS and Tesla. I put through to the office now, and they'll be posted later on this afternoon. The only reason why they don't post it now, we've got too many guys who quite frankly take our time up by sending us stuff. I can't get into it without realizing you can't because it's closed. And it's time consuming, you know, and we've got other things to do. So we'll send a bit later on. Okay. You have to shoot off, Farah. Right, where were we? So moving around, not too bad. Still fairly bluish out there, which is good. But I don't think there's anything else I want to play around with. I'm not sure I'm too keen on joining any dollar ones at the moment. If you're in a dollar one, hold on to it. don't you know, oversubscribe in the same sector, and if you're going dollar, euro, and the GBP, it's the same sector, if you like. Well, I put my head on the table and said, yeah, Arsenal table, whatever the word is. I do see a bit of strength coming out. I'm expecting a fairly hawkish stance, slightly hawkish stance at least from Powell, but obviously I don't know until that occurs, so just be a little bit careful. And you see a look at this, since I just looked at it in the last minute or so, it's now they've jumped up. So it's just jumping around fairly sideways. Again, the traders, are not just us, I mean, the pros out there have got a little bit burnt. I mean, big boys, everyone's got a little bit burnt as some of these movements on fundamental weeks. And we've got quite a lot coming out this week. Non-farm, the big non-farm being the biggest. Interest rate was that probably just as big in a way, if not bigger actually. Interest rate decisions and the other bits and pieces. So there's quite a few coming out, which makes the trade a little bit nervous. Understandably so. But see if we can pull through it and do what we can. We're certainly doing our best here, and we've got some blue on the table, so it seems at least been paying off. Have a bit of patience and discipline. It's nice to get in at 10 o'clock and hit your TP at 12, but sometimes you're in a bit longer. A lot of people ask, how long will I be in the market? Will you enter? As always, the answer is nobody knows, depending on market movement. Sometimes volatile. Look at these candles here. Look at these candles here. Look at this candle here. All the same time span of 1 day. So it depends on the market movements. Okay. We can control the position size, various education aspects we can control, but we can't control the market. That's why it is a market, because it's supposed to be not manipulated with, although sometimes it is, yeah. And there's a lot of unscrupulous power games being played, I'm sure you're aware of that. Just change subject. When is it? In March, isn't it? And I got to forget the date. Is it 20th, is it? 23rd? Some sort of, what's his name? EFP's talking about some sort of a national strike. Anybody, any updates or opinions on that? Malema might make a lot of noise, but he's got a lot of following. He's very charismatic, and there's a lot of influence, shall we say, not shall we say, who's highly educated, but still they make up a larger numbers, unfortunately. So yeah, that could be something to be worthwhile remembering. It could be, but then again, just needs a trigger like all these, like storm of the Bastille. There's only 7 people in the Bastille that started the French Revolution, but a slight movement like that caused a trigger, and then look what happened. So he says that it's going to be peaceful, but you can't control everybody. I think it's more of a disclaimer that I think probably will be some looting, but like the Zuma thing, the trigger, he gets all out of proportion. But if it does get a national strike, it's not going to help the economy much, is it? Anyway. But that's about as much as I know. I don't know on the opinion. Yeah, I just want to. It's pretty disappointing, negative. We're aware of it. It's one of the problems we have over here, which shook me. That only 6.7% in South Africa earn over $500,000 a year. That means over 93% earn less than $500,000 a year. Now the figure 500,000 sounds okay. Now let's put it to monthly. That's 40 grand a month. 4 12s are 48. Remember, so it's about 40 grand a month. Now, on 40 grand a month, you pay tax, you pay your bond or rent, you probably have a car, the insurance, the petrol, etc. Then you've got your electricity bills, and then maybe some clothing and other stuff like that before you even got to your food bills, etc. So even on 40 grand a month, it's probably fairly difficult to bring up a family. Now you're talking about over 90% earn, that's an average median, earn less than that, and it's counted a middle class. If you're earning 15 grand a month, you're called middle class. Now you can understand why people are very much battling with having a disposable income to actually start putting reasonable sums into it. In other words, they're living month to month because they're earning X amount, it's coming out at the beginning of the month and all the debit orders. So they can't suddenly write out checks for a little amount, like a 1 or 2 grand, either till the end of the month, because they don't have it, because they're going to live off that little bit of residual till the end of the month. And that really shook me. I only read that recently, sort of sharing with you, because even I was a bit taken aback. The kind of sort of economic problem which has been created over the last few years when you get that sort of setup. We're not talking about the poor here. We're talking about the supposedly middle class who have got an income coming in and a job. 93% earn less than 40 grand a month. And 40 grand a month is not exactly a comfortable salary. Exactly, and Tommy, and then you got the tax on it. It's a shocking figure. And it puts perspective. They think, you know, you can't write a check for a couple of grand. How much? And then you suddenly put in perspective. You know, the guy says, I'm on 50 grand a month. Why come you're broke? Depends what's going out each month. And you try and have a kid, a couple of kids and a wife not working. You really just know. It is a horrific reality. Yeah, we got the stop below. I think 1900 will hold. I mentioned at the time that if you want to take it fair enough, it could pull back. I think there's a probability it might happen at 900, but it might not. So be on board. And then if it does pull back, you stop this below 900, be covered. Get stopped out and sorry about that. But yeah, it could be pulled back a bit. But so you got your strategy, remember? You put that up. Give me a headache. And Tomby. Yeah, what do you say, Lorenzo? Yeah, that's correct, Lorenzo. You got your strategy, you got your stop, you did your position size right. If you get stopped out, it's annoying, but it's where it is. You're aware of it before you enter the trade, let the noise take out of itself. A lot of trades come off a bit and then go up a bit. You're looking up and down. A lot of trades end up being a nice winner when they look pretty hectic during. So yeah, if you can't handle the ups and downs, maybe it's not for you, because it's always going to have the ups and downs. Trading days, trending days, or whatever. The noise is always going to be there. Remember, there's millions of people buying and selling. Don't forget. It's just ups and downs, fine, no particular reason. DXY, just ups and downs. Noise. You go to protection, goes wrong, fair enough. Something I wanted to mention there. GBP, you can get the levels, okay. GBP NZD, given the levels for you. It's getting a better price here. It jumped up suddenly. Okay, you're getting a better price. So we'll put it up again. If you didn't get the levels, you're not in it. You can go if you want, if you like it. Now you get a better level. Stick the same one. GBP NZD. 1 point. Short. 1.9226. See, we looked okay. Someone made it's going right about an hour ago. Now look at this ups and downs. You've got to be able to handle that. It looks hectic in the transparency in your profit loss section. It can really screw your head in. That's what I say. Doing too much and don't let it. Just check it now and again. And if you get stopped out, well, that's part of the business of trades we know. Now the beauty is now if you want to take this, that's that one. If you want to take this, it's now instead of 100, it's only 80 rand a micro. So then you can work out your position size based on 80 rand a micro. And if you didn't join it and you want to join it, getting a better price. So another one I want to say, guys, if you get a trade idea, say, give me the EP, I say entry point EP, it's that or better. Get a better price. Don't wait for it to get back to the EP. You take it. You're getting a better price. If it's slightly worse, you've got to think a little bit. Is it worth still chasing or not? Then you do the maths accordingly. If it's getting in now and it's 40 and it's now at 1.91, you don't ask to call me up and say, is it worth chasing now? Or 50 pips away from entry, it's clearly not worth chasing. You should have the ability to work that out yourself. It shouldn't be something you'd have to actually ask. You should know that. So it's difficult because if it's a tight stop, it's different. A wide stop is different. The parameters change. But normally, if it's more than 10 pips away to the worst, the wrong side, probably worth leaving and hoping it bounces back to get a better price. But if you've got a 200 pip stop, you might get a 15 pips. There's a 50 pip stop, maybe 5 pips away. You've got to think a little bit, again, on percentage-wise. But don't forget more to the point. If you say sell at 1.9140 and you want to enter the trades 1.9155 where it's now, what a pleasure. You go in at market immediately. I had one guy the other day, first to go in, I tried to spell it out to him, so obviously didn't get it, and waited till it hit the EP and then he went in. So what's the point? And always remember, if you chase it, you've got to re-look at your risk to reward. If you know what I mean, if it says get in at 191.50, you get at 191.20, clearly the risk will be higher, the reward will be less. So you'll work it out on the different figures. Again, this should be known even before you look at the stock market as a basic common sense understanding. So just bear that in mind. Just think a little bit, okay, on the figures before we just dive in on the off chance. Okay. And remember the unknowns out there. The variable of the market will always be the ups and downs. Nobody can tell you, will this go to 1.9180 or back to 191 on the dot or whatever. Clearly, I think an overall view will come off. That's where I must stop in case it does go screaming up there. Okay. And that's why it's good to have a bit more money if you can afford it, that is. So you can diversify. I mean, the guy with 500 rand can only go in one trade at a time with 0.01. They can't diversify. You get 3 or 4 trades out, you've got to pick one. You might pick the wrong one. You cannot diversify if you haven't got the funds. If you do go for on a highly leveraged account, you can, because the leverage is so high. Then you're going to risk margin for it. You have no free margin to do it. Okay. Yeah, when you say place, you can put in an order, or you can place a pending order. Make sure it's market execution or a pending and know the differential. Does anyone know the difference? Because I get that quite a lot as well. It's not moving, but the price is moving. Well, you're not in the market. It's a pending order. You're only in the market when you're like in the market. Make sure if you're doing it, do a quick one on this one. Pick it arbitrarily. That's market execution. If I put let's say a pending order in, a buy limit, and I put my buy limit in at a specific price, what should I put in at? I don't know, 160 or so, that will be placed. If it's filled, the market comes to 160, you're in. If it doesn't, it'll sit there till you cancel it, unless you put it day, and then obviously it'll be cancelled for you at the end of the day. But just make sure if it's a placed pending order or you're in the market. Our guys go to platform training, I hope they do anyway, and they need to interact or not sure. If it's a pending order, not in the market. I'm offering to buy a house, Pete, for you've got the market for, let's say, 2 million rand, and I put an order, put it at 1.9 million. I haven't got your house yet. Pete might not accept that, but if he's got no other offers, he's a desperate seller, he might. Then I'm in a better price. But if somebody comes along and offers 1.9 or 2 million. He doesn't accept my bloody pending order, accept that person, and then I have to retract it. Okay. So just make sure you know the difference between a pending order and and it's not our job to teach it, it's a platform training. If you're still not sure, don't nod your head, interact. The guys, all the presenters, all the guys saying, they just wish guys would pitch up and interact. We've got 1,000 clients, minute amounts of people change the classes or platform trading, and those don't interact, so come out knowing nothing at all, and then they want to trade. It's kind of it gets my head in. Absolutely gets my head in. Right, dollar, I see a bit of strength, but unfortunately, the Canadian, like I mentioned, seems to be similar at the moment. It seems to be acting on the same principle with the dollar. So I'm not sure I'm going to buy or sell this. He had a bit of a jump there, but I'm not convinced I'll see that continue. I'm not comfortable to sell it either. I personally am not very comfortable with this pair because the fund is coming out in the dollar. Might just a couple of, I can't remember now, on the Canadian as well. But the point is the dollar reacts. I often found the Canadians seem to almost react in sympathy. So I wouldn't be chasing this. So missed out hindsight, yeah. When it was down there, I said it might have gone further. I don't know, but will it go further up? And if it does on the daily, 50 points, we're going to put the stop down here. No, even if you want to go in now as a buy, you won't get the risk reward. Even if it does get there, you can't go for trade. You won't get the risk reward. And why would you suddenly sell it there? There's a bit of resistance, nothing standing out on it. And why would you suddenly want to buy the dollar and sell Canadian and sell the US dollar suddenly? It just bounced for whatever reason, maybe a bit of a jump with DXY. It's all good. Yeah, had a bit of a jump with DXY for whatever reason. Maybe some institutions are putting in big orders. A tradable instrument, remember, it's a tradable instrument with DXY. So maybe some institutions put a couple of big orders in expectation, like I have, on the hawkish stance by the Fed. Simple as that. And, you know, if I'm an institution, I remember it's contract value, highly leveraged contract value. I might even have to put in a couple $100 million, 100 to 1. That's like a couple of billion. That's going to move it suddenly. Might be something like that. But you only miss out afterwards. I didn't know they're going to do that. The guy put in that particular one hadn't got a mind to tell me. And he certainly wouldn't anyway, because I might stuff it up for him by jumping on the bandwagon, make the price worse. But no, that's leave it alone. Don't forget, it's very easy to react to something when you see it afterwards. Hey, Lorenzo, if you're still there, these YouTubes, always demos on the past. I can tell you right now, what I should have done there, guys, I'm trading it now. This is clear on a bit of a high, this is short term. Look what happened. It came right down there, but took me a profit. And I made all those thousands of dollars. Yeah, it's a demo account, and it took place in November. All right, okay, great. What's he going to do now? He's going to jump up there or down? Hang on, get the point. Instagram, Facebook, have some fun on, but don't use it as a news source, trust me. Oh yeah, fine. As I said, same thing. I'm just guessing that maybe some couple of big boys expecting like I do, slightly hawkish stance on the dollar, and they're taking the risk to go in for it now because they are simply with the order size on that DXY, or maybe just on the dollar, or maybe it's on the euro or something like that, had that effect. Remember, the euro is a big part of that DXY. Don't forget that. Okay, Pete, good stuff. Okay, all right. Just before we close, is the gold come back to 1900? I think it's a good chance it will do now. Come off this far. So if you hadn't entered the trade, maybe just wait till 900 or just above there. Stop. Maybe put a wider stop then. Maybe 90 stop and take it up again. But I think you'll find that 1900 will probably hold. Okay. Okay, guys. Anything else? Anything you want to recap before we close up till this afternoon?
No, thank you very much. Hopefully this afternoon everything will be blue again, like a blue Monday and a blue Tuesday.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see why not. Let's just keep our fingers crossed. Thank you, Farney. Thanks, Anna Marie. Thank you, everybody else. Okay. Have a good one, guys. Yeah, and great stuff. I'll catch you later. Anything I've gone through there today and you might miss out, you're not sure about on the clarification purposes, make a note and you can ask again and do it, because those things are important. A lot of stuff you will be learning down the line, but it's of importance, but it's not vital. Some of the stuff that I've mentioned earlier on is vital, and if you're not sure, run about it again, because these are essential tools. You need a screwdriver if you need to undo a screw, you know what I mean? And these are essential tools. Okay, mate. Right. Cheers.